This is a video about the Silky saw and various other types of pruning saws. As you can see, it's a pretty vicious looking thing, and I was part of a high pruning gang years and years ago. We were 3 or 4 of us, and we used to do about an acre and a half a day of pole stage plantation, just pruning the best ones, selecting the best and pruning accordingly. Anyway, of course, these blades are not cheap, so you need to know how to sharpen them. And what brought this on really was 2 things. One, I was at a local agricultural college a while ago assessing chainsaws, and their skip had a couple of dozen of these blades in there. Nothing wrong with them, just blunt. And it just goes to show that people need to be taught how to look after things. Still, we'll put this away. Here's a couple of blades that were out of that skip. Nothing wrong with them. And here's one of my old Silky blades. You may notice it's been welded at the end. Right, the thing about Silky and pruning saws is they're a cross-cutting blade tooth format. Now, if you go back to I think the first video I did about sharpening circular saws for cutting firewood, somewhere in there's an explanation of tooth profile based on what you expect it to do. But I've got a drawing as per normal, and on the pruning saws, the teeth, instead of like a normal hand saw where the teeth are that shape, the teeth on these pruning saws are really quite spiky, so they're taller than they are wide, and also they are filed at an angle as shown here, so effectively, so they have a bit of a point, and then that other one, of course, has been sharpened from the other side, so these bevels are on the other side of that. Now then, the thing about these saws is, now where did I put it? They're a pull saw. So if, for instance, they were sharpened that it cut in both directions, then you'd be trying to cut when you were lifting the pole saw, which would be hard work. So these teeth have been filed in such a way as, now what I'm about to do I don't suggest you do at all, but I'm aware that I'm being careful. The saw is designed to cut on the downstroke, so that is really fairly sharp. Okay, I can feel it, little needles. But now, don't do this, but these are designed to only cut in one direction, so I wouldn't dream of doing that the other way, but you can run your hand down there because it's a series of little ramps, and I'll explain why in a moment. Right, so here we go. To be able to get that single direction cutting, what happens is you sharpen the saw, and from manufacturers it's like this, and then what they effectively do is they file that piece off, so you get that. So there's the cutting edge, so hence the cutting edge is only facing one way. So when I ran my hand down that blade, I was running my hand down that way, and all it had was a series of little ramps. But if I was to run this way, you'd be up against that point, and you can feel it. So there you go, that's the theory. The next thing is, the file itself is different. I'll put a photo of this up, but it's very wide and very thin. So it's a sort of elongated diamond shape. And of course this is so that you can get into those really quite pointy teeth. So we've got the proper file. Now this is my old saw filing stocks. So, and I used to take this on site and sharpen everybody's pruning saws for them. So you pop that in there like that. And because it's a curved blade, you have to fiddle around sometimes. But effectively, this is 2 bits of wood. In fact, I ought to show you. It's 2 bits of wood, any old size, no, that clamp together. And here, there are wedge-shaped notches. There and there, there and there. And in the top of this 4x2, there are some wedge-shaped notches as well. So the two go together, and as you knock it down, of course, wedge in wedge, it packs these close, tight together. So that holds the blade. You've got to be careful of these bits because they are a bit vicious. Anyway, the other reason why I'm doing this is because I had some feedback from, I did a video on pruning pole stage and earlier and formative pruning to produce good quality timber trees, and got some feedback recently from Wendy Coleman, and she loved that video. So I thought, right, I've been meaning to do this for ages, and that sort of spurs you on. You think, right, I better get on with that next video. Thing you need is better glasses to be able to see what you're doing, and 2 pairs is sometimes usable. Right, I think I'm going to have to zoom in now. Right, that one there is facing that way, and that one, and this one here is facing this way. So you all sharpen as per the circular saw advice. You always sharpen the one that's facing away from you, because otherwise you'll ruin your file and it'll make a horrible noise. So I'm just sharpening these. This is in quite a state actually. I'm just going to do a few. Never pull the file backwards. Okay? So I've done that. That's not quite right. You've just got to take your time. You can't rush this. Okay, I've done 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we'll do the other side. Setting the file up so it's right. Right, that's bright and bright, bright and bright. Now then, the ramps, we want to be cutting that way. So the ramps on the teeth, it's only the smallest amount. I'm going to have to do a little photo of this. That looks about right. And of course, you sharpen all one side, and then you turn the blade round and you sharpen all the other side. But you want all the teeth to be the same height. So don't go mad. But I can see some little flats there now. and it's fairly sharp, but I can run my finger that way. But let's just see if we can see. It's just grabbing hold of the skin there, but that way it's fine. So there you go. Just a few extra tips. When you put the file on there, it needs to follow the original bevel of the tooth. Yeah, so you really need to watch what you're doing. There's no point filing straight across, because then you won't produce that point with a bevel. All you'll do is produce that like a chisel shape. And so you need to file with the original angle of the teeth. Very careful about that. Just pay a bit of time. I mean, literally 10 minutes and it's done. But the difference in productivity is amazing. And it's so much easier when you've got a Silky saw that runs at, say, 6 meters high. If you've got a blunt blade up there, or one that's not absolutely razor, you're putting a lot more effort in. I mean, as I say, we used to do about 1.5 acres per man per day, and it was a long old time. But the saws were sharp, so we were able to do a really nice job, cutting right at the branch collar, so the healing would be right, etc. So hopefully, all those arborists out there who have these little pruning saws in a holster, you can now sharpen your own saws rather than buying new blades.